Hello. So, the flash fiction that I wrote is called Romantic Getaway, and I guess I was really inspired by the one picture that we saw in class, or one of the pictures that we saw in class that was of like an old couple leaning on each other and what I thought, I don't know, was maybe a train station. So I wrote it about like their journey through life and like kind of like reaching their final destination together. Super cute, romantic, kind of sad, but that's okay. But I guess I was really inspired by Currents, and I liked how they used like a really cool, interesting timeline of what they did, how they did go backwards. Like mine, I sort of made each stop similar to like a before that type of paragraph. So each stop was like a different thing that happened in their lives, and it led up to where they are right now. So it's not like exactly the same, but it was cool. Like I liked the idea of like having kind of a funky timeline. So I tried to do that, yeah, with the stops, and I tried to have like different symbols and signals throughout it too. Like the train's horn blaring was like a signal that they were going to move on to the next stop, which would be like a next chapter in their life. And so yeah, and then in terms of symbols, I tried to have like little hints here and there that were like repeated throughout, like the newspaper and the color pale blue. Like with a pale blue book and the pale blue necklace was like a good symbol for like this is the same woman throughout. And the newspaper would be like the same man throughout the whole story. And I guess I kind of hoped it would be a little bit more subtle, but I think it turned out okay regardless. Like I think you can tell that it's the same couple throughout this story, but I also think it's cool how it turned out in the fact that maybe it's not as subtle as I hoped. I guess if that makes any sense, but it's okay. Um, in terms of the revising process, when Abby was giving me feedback, I definitely understood a lot of where she was coming from. She told me that I focused a lot as a couple, but not so much on them like individually or in the beginning when they boarded the train. It was just kind of like plain like they got on a train and then they went on this journey. Like there wasn't much about what they were thinking or like how they were feeling at all. So I tried to incorporate that like just by using like a few words that maybe describe what they may have been feeling. Like before I just had she toyed with her necklace, but this time I had she nervously toyed with her necklace, and that kind of like changes it just enough so you kind of can obviously tell that she's a little nervous to get on this because it's kind of like where's the destination. And then I tried to show like how they are as a couple but also individually, and telling and like showing how like the man was kind of there like trying to calm her down while they were nervous. I don't know. I tried to like just use subtly make it a little bit more individualized in the first paragraph. And Abby's comments really helped with that too. Um, I also revised a little bit. A lot of my revisions came through like just like tweaking things here and there. And oh, she also told me that she wanted to, or she wished that there was like another identifying thing at the end for the man in the story. Like she even suggested like incorporating the newspaper in it again, and so I literally just had to say he set down the newspaper and turned to the window, and that kind of just like tied things together with him too. So that was super cool. I think in terms of revisions, I really like peer editing because not only do they tell you things that like maybe you could improve upon, but they also tell you things that you can do really well, and I just like I appreciate that a lot because I second guess myself a lot, and I'm just like, oh, I think I did that really well. But then like I'll read it again and I'll be like, no, it's probably like really confusing. But no, when someone else points that out too, it kind of just like very reassuring, and I really need that a lot of the time, especially in my writing. I think it's always good to have some reassurance. Um, I guess as I was editing, I noticed that I need to work on finding different ways to say things because I found myself repeating things a lot. Like I would say, oh, the train was off, or the horn sounded. I would just say things over and over, and I'd say the elderly couple so many times. And reading aloud really helps that. Like, as I work at the Writing Commons, and that's literally what we tell our uh, sessions, people in our sessions to do, because it's just so helpful. You find all the mistakes that you make, or like you find weird wording so easily. And I guess while I was doing that, I just found things that just didn't sound right. And I would just like sit there and think like, okay, how can I make this what I need it to be? Or like, how can I change this so it's not the elderly couple for the 8th time? So I tried to change things up in that sense. But overall, my revision process was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I would always love to like go back and revise it again and again. I don't know if it'll ever be finished, but I think writing this was really fun, and I liked being able to play around with like different techniques, and I was so excited when I could find a way to like add another pale blue symbol in there. So, or like find another way to incorporate the newspapers. I just like the idea of symbols the most, I think. That's where I really found some entertainment in writing. So, yeah, that's my editing process for Romantic Getaway.